Welcome back to the Stick 'em Up podcast. Brundi, how are you doing today? It is the middle of the off season. We're kind of starving for a little bit of hockey content. How have you been? How have you been? Have you found anything to fill your solace with missing hockey in the dog days of summer here?
No, not really much. It's a very quiet
Yep,
off
that's mine
season,
too.
and this was like you go back to the draft and all these reporters are saying like, oh, if even like 5% of the rumors that we're hearing are true, this is gonna be like one of the craziest off seasons ever, especially like the cap going up, whatnot. And I mean, yeah, the Mitch Marner stuff was pretty cool, but like it was also like we kind of knew it was already going to happen like a week before it did. And aside from that, it's been a very boring off season. Yeah, one of the more boring off seasons that I can remember throughout my lifetime, and it just stays that way. There's all the rumors of player X, player Y, player Z potentially getting traded, and um, all these rumors of offer sheets after last year and all this shit and just nothing. And now we've gone a couple weeks where our only noteworthy news is, hey, this guy signed. Like and again, today, that's the only news we have is a signing.
Yeah.
But that's not
Yeah.
the majority of them. So that's not what we're here to do today. But that's the only bit of news that we will be covering.
Yeah. It's been rough, and uh one thing that I think we thought was going to be really fun about this offseason was a lot of huge extensions,
Hmm.
not just to depth guys, but a lot of stars. And a lot of the star players that we thought would be getting these deals, teams want to get it done really quick. Most of them haven't, Connor
Hmm.
Bedard, Kirill Kaprizov, Connor McDavid. None of them have gotten an extension yet. And we're kind of waiting to see. I imagine there's a good chance that Kaprizov's kind of waiting to see what McDavid gets to kind of gauge what he gets to ask for. But yeah, until one of those big guys signs, I think it'll kind of set the market, set the tone, and then we'll see a couple other ones go off. But until then,
Until then, yeah,
we've got some other stuff to do.
we're left with our dicks in our hands, just waiting for anything of major substance to come out. But at least we
Yeah.
do have one thing to talk about today. Before we get into all of our hot takes for the upcoming season. So do you want to kick it off here and let us tell us what the major news is?
Yes, sir. Matthew Schaefer signed his ELC earlier today with the New York Islanders. First overall pick of this most recent draft. I mean, why wouldn't you? What's he gonna go do in juniors?
Well, so the thing is that's what I saw a lot of people saying is like, well, obviously he was gonna sign. Like, why wouldn't he? And it's like,
It's
well,
expected of the first overall pick generally.
but it wasn't a guarantee because especially now with how CHL players can go play college hockey and play in the NCAA. That was a possibility for Schaefer. If that was best for his development, he could have gone and played a year of college hockey and then joined the Islanders afterwards. But with signing his ELC, it now means he either plays in the NHL or he goes back to Erie, which
Right.
I don't quite think that's the best thing for him. So this pretty much does mean that he will be playing in the NHL next year. Whereas you look at San Jose with Misa, he hasn't signed yet because they're not sure what the path is for him. Is it going to be playing in the NHL this upcoming season? Is it going to be going back to Saginaw, which I don't think it is, or is it going to go play college? And more so, he has a chance. I don't know exactly where, but his brother Luke Misa, I think it is with a team. So he could potentially go play a year with his brother. So that's kind of why Misa hasn't signed, because that leaves the door still open to different things. But we kind of know with Schaefer now that he's going to be playing in the NHL. That's
Yeah.
where he's going to be next year.
Yeah.
Did you
And I
see
do
how
think that's
they?
probably the best thing for his development,
Yeah,
because it just gets him in right away. You start learning how it goes. And yeah, if he didn't, he definitely would have been, I think, probably going to the US for a college team or a university team, and they just play so much less games. Like they play like
Yeah.
30 a season or something, right? Like that's it it
Mhm.
doesn't acclimate you to what the NHL would be. If you do that for a year and then the next year you're playing against legit NHL players trying to defend against them and you're doing it 82 games in a year, it's with travel, like
Well,
it
and
feels like it would
you know,
slow him down to do that.
it goes back to what I said before. You know, when players go and they play in the NCAA, it's also with like school and going to classes on top. You are playing against like older, bigger, tougher competition and whatnot, which definitely helps you get prepared. To go up against NHL players. But on the flip side of it, if you play in the CHL, that being the dub, the Q, or the O, you play like 70 some games. So you're more on a NHL like schedule. It's not, you play a couple games and then you get a couple days off and then you play a couple games and you get more days off, like, 4 or whatever. Whereas, again in the CHL, you're doing those back to backs and then you get a day off and then you're back at it and you're on the road and for extended periods of time. It's not just for like potentially like a weekend type thing, right? So there's good and bads to both of it, but I think more than anything, I think the best path for Schaefer in his development is to just be with the Islanders. He doesn't even have to be the number one guy. Doesn't have to be playing a shit ton of minutes. Like he can slowly, you know, kind of grow into that role that they want him to be. So I'm with you. I think this is um the best move for his development now.
Yeah. I think you were saying something before about how they announced it.
Yeah. I was just gonna ask if you saw how they
I
did
did
that.
not.
Oh, okay. Well, I can tell you. For those who don't know, I go watch the video because me explaining it won't do it justice. Going and watching it will. Um, it's just something everybody should watch. But basically, what the Islanders did, and I love Lou Lamoriello and whatnot. But if Lou was there, would this have happened? No, tough to say. But what the New York Islanders did is they because everybody kind of knows the story with Matthew Schaefer of how he lost his mom to breast cancer and so on, through the emotion of it all throughout the draft if you watched. But what they did is they brought, I think it was 20 kids who in the area there who have lost a parent. And so they got to go and meet Schaefer at UBS. I think it was just in the Islanders like locker room, which is pretty cool for those kids. And they got to meet Schaefer and kind of ask him questions about like how he dealt with it all. And Schaefer just having kind of like just heart to heart conversations with these kids who are kind of going through this process that he's going through. And they've all got their Islanders hats and jerseys that he's signing. And at the very end, they have I don't know who this kid was, but they had one final kid who came up and said, I got one more thing. I'd like you to sign, and handed Schaefer his entry level contract, which he then signed there with all the kids present and whatnot. So I thought that was a really cool moment and an incredible way for Schaefer to sign his first NHL contract with a bunch of young Islanders fans that are kind of just like him, going through the hardships and the struggles that he went through. So I thought that was just incredibly done by the Islanders, and can't you know tip my hat enough to them for how they did that. It was really really cool.
Yeah. Wow. Like that's yeah. I definitely need to go watch that because I had not heard about that at all, and that's so cool. I completely agree. I do think that probably doesn't happen if Lou Lamoriello's there.
And I love Lou.
Not that
I love Lou. I've always been a Lou
yeah.
defender,
Not that
but
they would bring it up and he'd go, no, that's stupid, that's horrible. But I feel like when he's around, it just even if somebody has the idea, it probably just doesn't get brought up. I feel
mhm.
like it's just Lou probably wouldn't be a fan of it.
With
Let's
Lou, it
just
was
give him the
just it wasn't
contract.
like Lou hates this kind of stuff. It's just with Lou, it was everything was always behind closed doors, behind the scenes. He never wanted teams to know what he was up to, what the team was up to. It was always just you know business type of
Yeah.
thing, right? And again, like there's nothing wrong with that. That's just the way he operated, and a lot of success and whatnot. But it's kind of cool to see this new era, especially with the Islanders, for for how much they got ragged on for loose rules and how they were the most boring team. To start to kind of see this stuff from them is really cool. And you're starting to see a lot of fans heads kind of turn and be like, yeah, you know what? Maybe I should give the Islanders more of a chance now, which I think
Yeah,
you should.
yeah, 100%. And just they had so many good defensive players. They lost Tavares and their biggest offensive producer, and then they, between Lamorello, just not a huge fun guy, and then Barry Trotz, who one of the most effective NHL coaches I've ever seen, um, is not. He doesn't play a coach a very flashy style of game. Like he's so good at
Yeah.
coaching that shutdown defense, which while effective, yeah, it wasn't the most fun to watch, unless you're an Islanders fan.
Yeah. And that's the thing, right? If you're an Islanders fan, your team's win, it's like, who cares? Like,
Yeah,
you look at
couldn't care less if
Carolina
they're
now, and
winning.
Carolina is kind of labeled as like the most boring team now. And Canes fans, who were kind of the ones who actually dogged on Islanders fans the most, and just the Islanders in general. Now they're trying to defend their team. And I'm just like, hey, you know what? Who cares what people say about your team? If you're winning games and you're a good team, fuck what other fans think. You're enjoying watching your team win, and that's all that matters, right? Like,
Yeah,
I'm a Sharks fan, and they were getting dog walked most of last year, but I was like, hey, you know what? I'm still having fun. People are like, oh, your team sucks. I'm like, yeah, but you know what? I'm still having fun. That's all
going
that
up to a
matters.
Sharks fan
All
and
that matters.
yelling your team sucks. My brother in Christ, nobody knows better than the Sharks fans. Like,
Yeah, right. It's like, tell me something I don't know. But yeah, really cool by the Anders, and I just wanted to kind of highlight that. And more than anything, congrats to Matthew Schaefer on signing his ELC. It's always a cool moment when the first overall pick puts that pen to paper and starts his NHL journey.
yeah, yeah, and
But
for the most part, first overall picks generally do. So it was
yeah,
interesting because we saw a couple other guys from this draft sign, and everyone's kind of waiting. First overall pick, where are you? So here he
yeah,
is.
usually they sign a lot sooner. But again, now kind of with this thing with the opportunity to go to the NCAA and whatnot for these guys from the CHL makes it a little
Changing
bit more
things a bit.
difficult now. Yeah, it's not as quite as easy as it once was. But I think it's time. If you've
Yes,
been
it
here
is.
so far, listen to this episode, you've already seen the title. We are doing our hot takes, bold predictions, whatever you want to call them, for the upcoming season here. We each have 6, right? Yeah, 6. So
Yes, I actually ended
pretty
up coming up with 7. I just thought of another one, but
okay.
if we
Well,
have time to get to it, we
maybe
get
if I
to it.
can come up with one on the fly here, we can do extra one. But we for sure have 12. Well, I guess 13, maybe 14. Hot takes. We're just going to go back and forth, list them off, kind of talking about them a bit, and we'll come back after the season, see how we did. We talked about it, and for the sake of not making this one a super long one, next episode to kick it off, we'll review our hot takes that we did a year ago for last season and see how we did. They probably weren't very good, but yeah, you
I'll,
never
I'll
know.
be honest. Like I remember most of my predictions we did in the preseason or before the preseason, whenever it was for like the awards for where teams would end up in the standings and all that. For the hot takes, I really do not remember much at all of what mine were. I don't
I
think I can
remember a
really think of
couple
a
of
single
mine,
one.
and it's because they were all pretty far off. So I know I didn't do good on them. I might have got one right, but I don't think I did very well. But we can jump right in here. For our hot takes for this upcoming season. Do you want to kick it off here with your first one, or would you like me to?
Yeah, I will kick it off here. I am wondering if we will have any repeats, if we will have any of the same ones. Obviously, there's 32 teams. There's so much stuff to cover. So generally, you'd think we're not gonna say the same thing, but there's a couple I'm looking at here that I think maybe we might both have.
I don't
Um,
think we have any that are the same.
you don't think so?
No, I don't think so. But well, we'll see. We'll see
You
what
know what?
happens.
Then
See.
I'll start with the one that I think is probably the most likely for us to repeat. And my number one bold prediction is Dustin Wolf is going to be a Vezina Trophy finalist goalie this year. I
Yes,
think
I don't have that, but I totally agree with that.
Yeah,
I
I
like that.
think there's a decent chance he falls off a little bit from last year. I don't know the the reasoning behind why it happens so often, but the sophomore slump is a real thing. That being said, some guys just say fuck it and they don't care and they don't have it. And Dustin Wolf is such a gamer and he's so good. I think having a year under his belt, having the confidence of a great season under his belt is going to do wonders for him. Full off season. Uh, is it a contract year? Is he
Um,
ready for? Yeah, he could get an
yes,
extension.
yeah. So he's
He's an
probably waiting it
RFA
out a
next
bit to
offseason.
see what happens.
So if they don't get that done soon, he's also playing for potentially a lot of money. If he follows up with an even better year than last year, I mean, it's early, but you're already probably looking at a 8-year extension of, I mean, fuck, yeah, 2 great seasons when he's 23 and 24 years old. He's probably at least getting Swayman money, right? He's probably at least getting an 8 by 8, 8.5, if not more, maybe.
Hmm.
So, because he's also not got a phenomenal team playing in front of him. So, yeah, I think I'm confident in Dustin Wolf reaching the next level again this season.
I really like that one, and I agree for all the same reasons that you outlined there. I don't have that, but I do have a Calgary Flames one. And my first hot take, bold prediction, whatever you want to
Ooh,
call it, for this upcoming season is that Zane Perrick finishes top 5 in rookie scoring. Um,
okay.
and some people are like, well, he's so good when up. It's like, yeah, but like when you look at Calgary and they were like one of the like I think they might have ended up being the lowest scoring team in the league last year.
I
Um,
think it was
you know,
I think they were
he's
30th or worse. Like it was bad.
yeah, and he's behind guys like Uyghur and Anderson. There's so many other good rookies. Like you look at Schaefer, potentially Misa, Snuggerud, Demidov. There's so many others I didn't even like Ryan Leonard, Gabe Pro. Like there's so many out there. But I think Zane Prek, I think he's just a phenomenal hockey player. Um, just offensive. Well, not like just offensively, but like all around. But his offensive game is really what makes him stand out. And just from the one game we got to see of him last year, he already just looks totally NHL ready. And again, he might start a little bit lower, on the blue line for the Flames, but I think once he gets going and eventually he's just going to be undeniable. And the Flames are obviously not gonna try and tank because you kind of can't with Dustin Wolf, right? So the kid's gonna keep earning more and more minutes and more trust from the coach. And um, yeah, I don't necessarily know if he wins, the Calder or anything, but I do think he finishes top 5 in rookie scoring.
Yeah. No, I really
I
like
think
that
he's a
one
very
because
special talent.
I do think it is a hot take. Like I think it is a hot take when you have a defenseman being that high up in the scoring, especially with the likes of the rookie class we're seeing this year. Um,
Hmm.
for a second, I thought you were going to say top 5 in defenseman scoring, and I was like, "Oh, that's a hot take," because that's got to mean
Yeah,
70,
that would be
75
that would be a
plus
bit
points.
too much. That one would be a bit too much, I think.
But
Not
I
entirely
I think
possible,
that's
but yeah,
I
no.
think that's not out of the realm of possibility. I don't think it's exactly likely, but yeah, I like that one.
I'm glad you liked it. I'm always here to appease you. Your next hot take. What do you got?
I am staying in Alberta with this one, but this time we're going over to Edmonton. I am predicting that Connor McDavid is going to re-sign in Edmonton, most likely long term. Um, but basically, I'm going with a contract that just straight up matches Leon Draisaitl. I think whether it's before the season, mid-season, I think he's going to re-sign. He's going to do a 7 or 8 year deal at 14 million. Now nobody coming into Edmonton can ever ask for more than that. You're going to make more than Draisaitl and McDavid. You're insane. Uh,
Yeah, that ain't happening.
and I think he's going to do that and be like, all right, you got 2 insane players for only 28 million. build the rest of the team and win us the freaking cup. I think he's going to leave a
Okay.
lot of
I
money on the
don't.
table, and he's
I
probably
don't.
going
I
to make
don't.
it
I don't
hard
hate
for other
that.
guys to get a lot of money. Like I was talking
Hmm.
earlier about Kaprizov. I think if Kaprizov doesn't sign before McDavid signs a deal like that, he's going to go fuck.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's kind of the thing, right? Like, sometimes guys hold out hoping that, oh, this guy was signed for this and I can really cash in, but then they don't. It's like, shit. Right. And then you're kind of sitting there like, oh, now what? Because you can't really negotiate more than McDavid, right? Like once
Yeah,
he kind of signs that, at least for that year and that period of where the cap's at, you can't go over it. Like, yes, it's happened before where um, like McKinnon makes
McKinnon
more than McDavid, but it's also like McKinnon signed it much after the fact, right? It wasn't like
quite a
he signed
quite a
it
few years
right
after,
after
and after
McDavid
winning the
signed
cup.
his. Yeah.
Like
Also that true as well. That is also very
so.
true.
Just to go back to when we were talking about the Flames there, the Flames finished, so that would be 32, 31, 30, 29th in the league last year in goal scoring. And they were just outside the playoffs. So,
Yeah.
yeah, they had a hell of a time trying to score goals.
Um, my next hot take kind of is in line with yours. It does involve McDavid's one of the two. But my next hot take here is that neither McDavid or Connor Bedard sign an 8-year extension.
Okay.
I don't think either one of them locks in on an 8-year deal. I think Bedard is definitely more likely for like a potentially just a bridge deal and be like, hey, I'm not waving the white flag here in Chicago necessarily, but it's like I'm not going to sign for 8 years until we start to get results and I can actually see what's going on. Because again, it's not like Chicago's rebuild's going bad, but is kind of directionless when you look at some of the other teams that were around the same, you know, area as
Window.
them. Again, it's still going well, but it hasn't quite gone the way they wanted. And I could see Bedard being like, it's not like I want to leave, but I'll sign a nice, 3-year deal at whatever something, and then in those 3 years, hopefully we're back in the playoffs and we're making noise, and then I'll commit long term, and then he could probably even get even more money as well at that time as well if he signs a couple years down the road. And for McDavid, maybe a 6 or 7. This one I'm probably not the most confident because I could easily see McDavid signing an 8-year, but kind of based on the rumblings and what's out there, I could see a possibility where he only signs like maybe a 5-year extension or something, and uh,
Yeah.
because
I
obviously McDavid,
I feel
his
like
goal
that's
is to
kind of
win in
like
Edmonton, and he doesn't want to just dip or bounce. But I could also see where maybe he doesn't want to, commit to an 8 years, and so again,
yeah.
they've been putting a better team around him, but it's like there's been a glaring weakness for the last couple of years, and just GM after GM there just refuses to address that issue, and eventually maybe this is the point where he kind of gets sick of it and is like, hey, you know what? I'm not ready to commit for 8 more years when
Yeah.
him and Draisaitl are kind of having to put the team on their back just to have a shot year after year in the playoffs, right?
Yeah, that's fair. And honestly, you said maybe a 5 or 6. I think that's kind of like the least likely thing. I think if he doesn't sign the 8 year, then I think he's going, well, either to free agency, which would be insane. We've like never seen that
Yeah.
before, or he would sign, a 1 or a 2, maybe a 3. Like I think if he doesn't go crazy long term, I think he's saying here's a 2-year extension. If we don't win in that time, I'm gone. So like clock's ticking. Um, but
Hmm.
there's a million ways you could try and get inside the heads of these guys. Who knows?
Yeah.
I believe he's currently over in France right now with his buddy Leon Draisaitl, who's getting married there. So,
Do you see them playing that beer league game together?
I did. I saw
I don't know
some of
where
the
it
clips of that.
was, but I mean they lost. So that's gotta be pretty cool. You're going out for your fucking Wednesday night beer league game, and it's like, oh yeah, the other team's got McDavid and Draisaitl. Good luck, and then you somehow win.
And they both put up 0 points as well.
Yeah,
So, or at least
and they
I
were
think they
trying.
they both
Like,
had
obviously, they
no
weren't,
goals.
going full tilt, but they were still trying to do stuff.
I mean, they're so talented that they skated around as if they were doing warm-ups, but, like,
Mhm.
that that should demolish most people.
Yeah.
So, if I was that goalie who didn't let in a goal, I would never shut up about that.
Oh, yeah,
Like,
no, that would just become my whole personality. Like, you
yeah,
imagine walking into the office fucking Thursday morning, they're like, "Oh, hey, how was your night last night?" "Yeah, I just shut up McDavid and Draisaitl." Like, "No big deal." Like,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
just
you
another
go
day
check out
for
my
the
Hockey
kid.
DB page.
Yeah, right?
You wouldn't be able to talk hockey with me. I'd always bring it up. "Oh, McDavid just won the Hart Trophy again. Is that bum who couldn't score on me?" Yeah, like,
Um, yeah, but if that's what I'm going with, neither McDavid or Connor Bedard sign, an 8-year extension. I like how there's no pushback from me on the Bedard one, it was only the McDavid one. The Bedard one, you're like, "Fuck yeah, fair."
I think that one is just I don't think we're gonna see a lot of 8-year deals from guys that talented at the young age. Like, I don't
I mean, look at Toronto.
may like, maybe Celebrini does, but I even then, like, he'd be leaving money on the table. The cap looks like it's gonna go up so much, like, we were talking about it recently. I don't even remember if it was on the podcast, but we were talking about, like, Bedard's extension. If he goes 8 years, what does he get? 12 and a half, something like that?
Mhm,
But, I mean, or, he can command that money, but if he says 3-year deal, he plays for 3 years, well, on his next deal, especially if he's broken out to be the guy we think he can be at that point, now we can ask for fuck the cap going up. You could probably ask for 16, 17, right?
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
if you take the long-term deal, you're just shorting yourself on money. Obviously, you're giving yourself much more financial security because 12.5 million times 8 isn't exactly chump change. But,
mhm.
you know, if they think they can stay healthy and they can keep playing as well, then there's always more money to be made.
You ain't wrong.
And
Um,
obviously, the Blackhawks suck right now.
yeah,
Obviously,
awful. Booty.
just tragic.
Moving on to hot takes number 5 and 6. What do you got here for us?
The next one I have here, staying still in the Pacific Division, I have the Anaheim Ducks making the playoffs this next season.
Oh,
I think they got a new coach. I think
okay.
they made some nice moves. I think this team is poised to really start breaking out. I think they've,
I think the pieces are there.
and the couple of things hanging over their head, what's going to happen with Zegras? What's going to happen with John Gibson? Those are done. They're dealt with. Cronin's gone. Like, a lot of the thing, they didn't have a ton hanging over their head, but what was there is gone, and they
Mhm.
can they can start focusing on going forward. And I think they're going to get huge seasons out of Cutter Gauthier, Leo Carlson. Just another year of development for both of them, and also they're both eligible for an extension. So whenever you're up for money, that's when you're going to play the best. That's just how it is.
Mhm.
You play harder when you go fuck, like, you know, all I have to do is go out there and have a good 18 minutes of time on ice, and I might earn myself an extra. If I put up a hat trick, I might get an extra 700K on my next deal. Times that by however many years, like, I could legit make $1 million tonight by scoring a hat trick or something. So,
Mhm.
and they've got a lot of Jackson Lacombe, Pavel Mintyukov, like Olin Zellweger. They're all up for an extension. Like, there's a lot of guys who could be having big seasons.
And love him or hate him, Joe Quenneville is a damn good coach, and um, he's gonna get the most out of those young guys, right? So I don't hate that pick one bit.
Yeah, and then
I
guys like
think it's
Mikhail
it's definitely a
Granlund, Chris
possibility.
Kreider coming in, like, those are some
Yeah,
real nice ads. That's going to help out the power play a ton. Like,
and just some good veteran presence, right? That's kind of what we talked about with Anaheim before. Is they kind of lacked that a bit, right? You
they've
were kind of like asking just all of these young kids of like, hey, we know you guys are just kind of getting your beak sweat in the league, but you guys are running the show. you don't really have much for veteran presence. And then they did bring in Jacob Trouba, which I think did help. And now guys like Chris Kreider, Granlund, like they're bringing in. You don't need to just fill the team up with a bunch of veterans, but you do need a few. And
It
having
really
those guys
was like
especially, I think
just
will help.
Killorn and Gudis for like 2 years there. And they didn't really
Yeah.
have any other veterans. Like, I guess Vetrano, but like, back then he's like 29, 28. You know,
Hmm.
they really haven't had a ton of them. And now they've got a solid core of, 5 or 6 of them. And they're paying those guys quite a decent bit of money. And they're all their contracts really at this point. They all know their role. Killorn, he's not expecting first line minutes because he's like, I'm that guy. He was brought in for good God, 6.25 mil for 2 more years. He's collecting that fat paycheck and he's just helping out the young guys. Chris Kreider, Mikhail Granlund, they're all just there to lift those other guys up and help them out. So
Hmm.
I think
Yeah,
they've
no, I
just got
don't hate that one bit.
they've built it almost like an EA Sports, like how you would put together your franchise. Like you have no guys that don't have a role. It's all the young hot shots, and then you got the veteran presence. Like,
Hmm. Yeah.
and then of course Lucas
Um.
Dostal in net,
Yeah.
solid goalie.
Um. My next hot take here. This might piss off quite a few people. Um. I have the Montreal Canadiens missing the playoffs next year. And
Ooh,
this is where it gets even better. I have them missing the playoffs because I think the team that takes the spot from them is the Buffalo Sabres.
wow.
Just looking over, especially with Buffalo and how they have helped their decor, especially on that right side, that was just awful. Like it was on the same level as like San Jose bad on the
It was
right
bad.
side. Um, and again, I really do think that Kessel ring, whether he's on first pair, second pair, you've got a top four right-handed defenseman, Connor Timmins, who I think was one of the better, bottom pair right-handed guys in the league. Scoring goals. I mean, I think we kind of cut that segment out, but we were talking about it on how they were ahead of so many good teams in terms of goal scoring last year, but it was their defensive game that was awful, that was killing them. And I think they've got good goaltending in UPL. I think their defense is going to be much better. And if the offense can just kind of do even somewhat of what they did last year, and again, a lot of good talent, a lot of young players that I think are going to take steps. I really do think this is a year, like, I don't think Buffalo is going to make the playoffs and, do any damage by any means. But I could really see them taking that step, and more than anything, not going on that massive losing streak that costs them every year, because that kind of seems to be a theme with them. Is at some point in the season there's just a really rough skid they go through, and that kills their season right there, especially with how tough and competitive the Eastern Conference is, especially the Atlantic Division. I don't see that happening to Buffalo, and that keeps them in the fight more, and I can see them sneaking in and stealing that spot from Montreal. Even though
Yeah,
I think
you know
Montreal
what?
is going to be good, again, teams in that Atlantic, there's 8 teams, only 5 can make it
At
at,
most,
at
and that's if they
most,
take
right?
the both wild card spots. And you know what? That's a good point that their defense got so much better. And they did lose JJ Peterka, but they were 10th in the league last season in goal scoring. And like
Oh, and Josh
the
Doan is going to be a good defensive help as well, actually, in their own end
yeah.
as a forward.
And by the way, the Edmonton Oilers were 11th. They scored more than the Oilers last year. They were .01 behind the Hurricanes, .03 behind both the Leafs and the Jackets. Like, if they'd scored, like, I don't even know how much that is, but it's not a lot. That might be as few as like 5 or 6 goals more over the entire year. And they're 6th in the league in goal scoring. Like, they buried
Yeah.
it. So if they can fix up their defensive end and
And there's a
get a little
reason
better
that's what all their
goaltending.
moves were designed for, was to help out in the defensive zone. Like, they didn't do anything to, you know, get any more firepower to score goals. It was to clean up their own end. And I think they did a good job, in my opinion.
Yeah. And like, it's crazy because I look at this team and like, this could be a borderline dynasty level team if everything goes right. Like, there's the amount of talent they have on in the net, on defense and forwards just because the sheer amount of high draft capital they've had over the last damn near decade is insane. But they're just the Leafs of the regular season. They're just cursed. It's just not happening. I'm looking at this roster and I'm going, how does this team lose? What did they lose? Like was it 11 or was it like 14 games in a row last season in early December? Like they just imploded. Sure, Rasmus Dahlin went down partway through that after like 4 games losses in a row, but I mean, God, like, you know, Cale Makar goes down, Victor Hedman goes down. Yeah, it's going to suck, but those teams aren't going on a 6-game losing streak, let alone double that. So, like, I almost had a hot take of the Sabres making the playoffs, and I just couldn't bring myself to do it because they're just one of those cases where I'm like, I'll just bet against them every single time, and one of these days I'll be wrong, but until then I'll be right.
See, I almost went down that road, but I was like, I just shit talked them like relentlessly last year. I'm like, you know what?
I'd like for them to make it. I hope you're right.
Yeah, I think everybody does, and it's not even like, you know, I think Montreal's going to be bad. I still think Montreal's going to be good, but I'm not going to say, oh, Buffalo makes it over, you know, Tampa or Toronto or Florida or is there maybe Ottawa, but
maybe Toronto.
I still kind of like Ottawa a bit more.
I liked a lot of the moves they did make, but you know, losing Marner, that's a lot off of your offense and your defense, really. He's great defensively.
Yeah, but they're deeper now.
They're a lot
their
deeper
top
now.
end talent hurts, but their forwards are deeper now. So, and I still think they make. I don't think they make it as comfortably, but I think Toronto's still in there though.
Yeah, most likely, I think still.
Marner leaves and then Toronto misses the playoffs. Oof.
Marner probably goes on to win a Conn Smythe in his first year with Vegas.
That would be scenes. But we can move on to our next hot takes, number 7 and 8.
So for my next hot take that I have this one's I had something else and I ended up kind of editing it a bit because I had a bad thought. But basically what I went with is an original 6 team is going to win the draft lottery and get projected first overall pick Gavin McKenna. And whoever it is that wins that, they will have done it without being last place in the league.
Boston. Your favorite team.
My first thought was I think the Blackhawks are going to win it and they're going to have McKenna end up in Chicago without them coming in last. And then I looked through all the teams and I saw Boston. And I thought, fuck. Wouldn't that just be great? The Panthers get insanely good, and all of a sudden the Bruins, it looks like they're going to go down, and then they get McKenna. And I thought that seems really likely too, because fuck me, I guess. So I just said original 6 team, mostly meaning those two.
I could see it.
It'd be absolutely bonkers if the Red Wings, you know, finished 10th last and moved up to first. But you know what? Stranger things have happened.
Crazier things have happened before. I don't hate that one, honestly. That's kind of a fun one. I didn't even think of ones like that, but
I think there's a very strong chance that that Pittsburgh finishes dead last in the league, and I think a lot of as soon as that happens, I think a lot of people are going to go, there it is. They're going to get their next generational player, first Lemieux, then Crosby, now McKenna. I think they're probably going to finish last, and I think they won't win the lottery.
Okay. I don't hate it. I don't hate it. I have one with an original 6 team as well.
Ooh.
My next hot take here is that I think that the New York Rangers are going to trade Artemi Panarin this season.
Ooh.
When you kind of look at the Rangers, it kind of starts to feel like they're kind of having to work towards doing a retool because you can't rebuild now with, you know, Shesterkin's massive contract they gave him. And when you kind of look at this team, it's like, you know, is Panarin the best player on the team? Yes, absolutely. But he's up, his contract's up at the end of this season. He's going to be 34. And so you kind of got to think, do you give him another, you know, double digit, like 10 million plus for a couple more years to try and do it, or do you capitalize while he's still got good value and get a good haul back to kind of help out with your kind of retool that you're going to have to work with? Um,
Well, and my God, imagine
there's
the
a reason the
return they could
Rangers
get.
didn't. Yeah, and there's a
Holy
reason the
crap.
Rangers gave their first round pick to Pittsburgh in the end and didn't hold on to it for themselves, because I don't think they're super comfortable with where they're at. I don't think they have the belief that we're going to be a wagon next season. And yeah, like you said, the return you could get would be pretty nice. I think still.
And I mean, they're one of the first teams that comes up for a lot of trade talks because they're always looking to buy. But my God, could you imagine Artemi Panarin going to Edmonton? Like, McDavid's had some fun wingers to play with. Sure, Nuge is good, and they got Zach Hyman. Yeah, he's good for tipping it in. And, Draisaitl, amazing when he's on that line, but usually he's centering the second. I mean, fuck me. Play Artemi Panarin, though, that is a completely separate thing. Like, I don't care that Nuge just put up 100 points in a season. It's because McDavid. But Panarin's put up 120 in a season carrying his line the way McDavid does. Like, that would be crazy. The amount of
That would
places
be
he could
nuts,
go
but
and
I don't
legitimately
think
be
Edmonton's
a
got
winning
the.
piece.
I don't think Edmonton's got
Cap
the
space?
pieces to make work. I actually know the pieces to make a trade work.
Mm,
But I did
interesting.
put a team here that I think could make
They're a bit
sense, and I
lower.
could potentially see them getting Panarin if he becomes available. And that is none other than the Minnesota Wild, where Kaprizov is. I could see
Oh.
Panarin maybe being inclined to go to Minnesota to play alongside Kaprizov up on that top line. Minnesota, like we've talked about at great lengths, definitely have the cap space to keep both Kaprizov and Panarin if they make a move for him. They have the pieces
Over
to make a
14
trade
mil
work.
in cap space right now
Yeah,
as
and
well.
they've got the pieces to make
They're look
a trade work.
they're looking to move Marco Rossi. That's a really good idea.
And if the Rangers are going to trade Panarin, they probably want to move him to the West anyways. And when you look at the West, there's only so many teams that, first of all, can take on Panarin, and probably because I assume whoever's going to trade for him will have an extension. So there's only so many teams that could pay him if they got him, and there's also only so many teams that are able to pay him that actually have the pieces to give up in a trade for him. And again, if Panarin kind of gets his pick, the chance to go play alongside Kaprizov, I think could be very intriguing for him.
No, that's an incredible shout. I love the idea of them trading him and the fact that Minnesota, like, I think that's a perfect fit. Yeah.
And
No,
Minnesota's not afraid to make
that's
big
great.
moves. They're not afraid to
Not
make big
anymore.
moves now. So
Yep. They had all that money come off the cap, off the books for those old contracts. They are ready to do some damage. I really like that. And I do think the Rangers kind of have a lot of reasons, because they missed the playoffs after winning the Presidents this past season. Like, they're really need to make a shakeup, and you so much value for a guy like Panarin, but not forever. Eventually they start having a downward trend, and like you said, he's turning 34 in October this year. You know, he's had past seasons where he had 95 points in 69 games, like 100 just the not this past season that just happened, but the year before they won the Presidents. He had 120 points, 49 goals. Like, that's
yeah,
outrageous. But this year, he had 89 points in 80 games. Still very good, but that's almost a 40-point drop off. That's
yeah,
a 31-point drop off. So if he is starting to decline, yeah, unless you think you're winning the cup this or next year, you might as well get ahead of the curve.
yeah. Exactly right.
Yep, I love that.
And I'd love to see a big trade like that happen again. It's fun with Rantanen, so I hope we get at least one every
It's
year.
fun. Excellent segue there, Brundy. Moving on, the team that got Mikko Rantanen after all the stuff last year, the Dallas Stars, are the center of my next bold prediction, and that is that they will trade Jason Robertson mid-season. I think
Ooh,
I I don't know if it's what's best for the team. I don't know what he's asking for money, but he's been a really good player, great two-way. He's a left winger, he plays good two-way, and he has 100. Does he have a 100-point season?
Yeah.
Like, he's absolutely incredible. He's also an RFA somehow. Somehow he's still that young. So he's got all the leverage in the world. And I don't think they made a move yet because I don't think they really wanted to move him. And then all of a sudden Mikko Rantanen fell in their lap and they went, well, fuck. I mean, Jason Robertson's good and all, but we just got Mikko Rantanen. Like, so
Yeah.
I think they're looking to move him a little bit begrudgingly, but I think they'll still be in a fine spot without him, which is crazy to say. And they're just one of those teams, man. They've, isn't it like 3 straight conference final exits? Like,
Yeah.
you, what got Florida over the hump? Trading freaking Mackenzie Weegar, a first round pick, and Jonathan Huberdeau after an 115-point season. Like, that's so bizarre,
You're
but
not wrong.
I
You're
mean,
not wrong.
fucking worked out for him, didn't it? So
Yeah.
if they
Fucking when
move
you put
out
it that way, I
Robertson,
mean, yeah, it did.
you gotta take risks in this league. So if they can move out Robertson, get a great return, maybe it's another pretty good player, a middle six winger, and then a really good defenseman, or just a ton of depth. Like, yeah, I think they're just gonna shore up, and they're basically just gonna use that trade and make their team bulletproof.
Mm-hmm.
They're
I
just
don't.
not gonna
Yeah.
have a hole in the lineup once they make that trade, because they'll still have all the top guys. They'll have all the depth they could want, which they're already fairly strong on. But if they just the value you can get off a guy like Robertson, it their fourth line will look like most teams' third line, and their second line will look like a lot of teams' first line, and their defense won't be an
Mm-hmm.
issue. I think it's
Do you have
just
a
one of those things where
destination
I tried
for
to think
Robertson?
of one. I couldn't. I couldn't really think of a great answer for it.
So
Um,
I do have one.
but I had a couple of thoughts. But I'll hear yours first because I am interested.
Again, obviously there'd be a lot more moving parts to this deal, but I think it's a deal that works well for both teams. I really could see Jason Robertson being traded to Calgary, and again, it'd be a bigger deal, but I think the big pieces would resolve around Jason Robertson and Rasmus Anderson,
Right.
because that again,
Right.
that is Dallas's biggest hole is on that right side of the blue line, right? You look at probably when they were the most successful, it was when they had Chris Tanev there. And, they're no strangers to making moves to get defensemen from Calgary. Um, and, again, I think they're still searching and like, fuck, all they had last year to go after of who was available was Cody Ceci. And that didn't work out well because, again, you tried to force Cody Ceci to be a top pair guy and he's just not. Whereas Rasmus Anderson, we know he can be. And again, when you're Calgary, you're kind of looking for more scoring help up front because again, with a guy like Kadri who's only getting older, Jason Robertson could be a nice fit um, up front for Calgary. But again, it obviously would be
Yeah.
a much bigger deal with a lot more pieces. But I definitely could
Yeah.
see something surrounding those two names.
You know what? I really like that because Robertson, 26, not, maybe not as young as Dustin Wolf or Zane Perek, but he still fits the timeline. He would, he's not. I think he would be closer in age to those guys than Tavares is to Austin Matthews, right? And that,
Yeah,
they haven't won a cup
exactly.
yet, but that we know that core works. We know you can build around that as long as you have the right cap hit. So yeah, you know what? I could really see something like that happening. I think that's a really good call. One of the teams that I was thinking, and I don't know if they would have the right mix of guys to make it happen, but for some reason, the Jason Robertson just screams a guy that would go to the LA Kings.
Mm,
They love their two-way forwards, and so maybe it's just a bit of that, but they have quite a few of those middle six forwards that I think they would get one or two of those back. I don't know if that would be a Trevor Moore or maybe even a Warren Fogle or something like that. But on top of that, then you know, probably don't want to get Cody Cece back, but
Maybe Brant Clark.
Brant Clark,
I
it's
don't know if
not
LA's
looking like it's
still
working
looking at
out
moving
fully
him,
there.
maybe, but
There's been rumors
if the door is open, it can always be cracked back open.
that would be a swap of two pretty high profile RFAs. One of them much more proven, but you know, you add in a couple extra things, move out Clark, you bring in Robertson. I mean, especially if you're looking at potentially losing Anze Kopitar to retirement at the end of this year, Jason Robertson
Yeah.
is a fun replacement, even if he doesn't play center. Uh, he'd still keep your scoring above water.
hmm That's not a bad destination either.
But
Yeah,
that's
it's
what I got
interesting to
there for
think
them.
about, though.
Yep,
Um,
I something about the Stars just feels like they're going to get desperate, and I think that's going to be the big move they need to make.
and they have been last bit. We've seen it, so it's not entirely impossible. Um, my next one here, this one's pretty simple. I'll stand by it and I'll die on this hill. The Seattle Kraken finish in the bottom three of the league next year. And to clarify, that means that one of either Pittsburgh, San Jose, or Chicago finishes above them. At least one of them. When I look at Seattle again, I think that they're still trying to figure out what their identity is. And I don't love the hiring of Lane Lambert. Again, like I said, I think he was put in the perfect spot with the Islanders where the system was already in place, the team was already in place, 2 trips to the Eastern Conference Finals, and you're arguably a goal away from winning a Stanley Cup the second year. And Barry Trotz leaves. You learn from him all these years. He gives you the keys to the kingdom, and you say, fuck this system that I've been learning. Fuck the system we've been running. I'm changing it all up. And it did not work whatsoever. And now he goes to Seattle. And if he runs that same system, I think Seattle's got a way worse team right now on paper than what he had with the Islanders at that time. And so when you take a team that's still trying to figure out their identity and you put in a coach that, again, I just don't think Lane Lambert's qualified to be an NHL level head coach, at least not from what we've seen. And I just don't think it matches up well. And then you put on top of that, like we looked at, how many pending UFAs they have. You get to that trade deadline, just like last year, they're going to be selling guys off, and then they're just going to keep getting worse and worse. And I think by the end of the season, they're going to be a bottom 3 team and probably draft another
Yeah.
centerman, because why not? They're just going to roll out 8 centermen and be like, you guys can just rotate with our 2 wingers that we have left. Because that's all they draft is just centermen with their first round picks.
Yeah. Well, I mean, one of them you need your star centerman, and one of them needs to hit at some point. But
True.
you know what? I don't hate that pick.
Not to say like they don't have good players, like they still have some good players, but
yeah,
again,
it's the NHL. You got to be able to beat other good teams.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that one's gonna happen, but I don't think you're far off either. So I think that's a pretty good hot take. I think they're gonna have a couple of those guys take the next step. I think Matty Beniers is especially gonna really reach a next level that I think people are starting to think isn't quite there. So I'm very interested to see what Seattle does next year, because if they have, Shane Wright, Matty Beniers, Capo Caco, if those guys can all just take a bit of a step, that does a lot for them. And Joey, I just have a hard time believing they're going to be bottom 3. I don't think they're making the playoffs or anything, but that's just a bit low for me because they have Joey Daccord in net. And the best way to win games is have a good goalie who will steal you a couple throughout the year. And I think he's one of the goalies he's going to steal more than a handful for him.
It's tough. He's getting peppered every night.
They don't make it easy on him. I'll definitely give you that. They definitely don't. But that being said, I'm saying he's gonna hold him above water into 4th, 5th,
Bottom
6th, or
5.
7th place. Yeah, pretty much.
So not far off from bottom 3. Again, I just think, I still think Sal's got good pieces, but I see them taking a step back. And then you look in the Pacific, you're going up against the wagons of, Edmonton, Vegas, LA. I think Calgary takes a step. Anaheim is obviously going to take a step. I think even San Jose does. Like, nothing crazy for them, but again, I do think they're going to be better. Vancouver, who knows with them? It's impossible to predict them at this point. That I don't know. And so I think that the competition gets a little bit tough around them, and some of those easier games that they used to have are not quite as easy anymore.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I don't hate it. That's why it's
what do
a
you
hot
got
take.
next here? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, true, right?
This next one, I don't know if this is a super hot take, but I think with the number I attached to it, I think it is. I'm predicting that Jack Hughes is going to have an incredible return season after his injury last year. Obviously, people know he's really good, but I think he's going to put up 110 or more points this next season.
Ooh, so you think he
I
reaches the 100-point club finally?
I think he hits at least 110. I think he
110.
shatters it. I think he's finally going to string together a full healthy year, and he's just going to go off. And he's going to be so good playing with the likes of Jesper Bratt, and we're finally going to get to see a full healthy season out of him, because for the last couple of years now, we've known like he's that guy, but you have to be healthy. You have to play the games for it to be real. So I think he's finally going to get that together.
Short, sweet, simple, to the point. I like it. My last one here. I have a bit of an asterisk beside it because I did come up with this one last week, but now I've seen a lot of people starting to actually throw this out. I'm like, all right, maybe this isn't like a super crazy hot take, but I put it out there last week, and I'm going to stick with it because I firmly believe in it. I also have a player for the first time reaching 100 points and joining the 100-point club, and that is Robert Thomas of the St. Louis Blues. Robert Thomas 2 years ago, 86 points in 82 games. Last year missed a couple games, only played 70, but he did have 81 points. His game just was already so good, and it feels like it hit that next level once Jim Montgomery came there. And St. Louis is only getting better. There's more and more talent around him, compared to the last couple years when he was already doing really good. And so I think there's a real possibility for Robert Thomas to get to 100 points this year and potentially even more. No, I'm not saying like 110 or anything like Jack Hughes, but I definitely do see 100 points being a very good possibility for Robert Thomas as long as he stays healthy next year.
Yeah, no, I really like that one as well. He's one of the more underrated players in the league. Still, like he's such a good playmaker, such a good passer that I definitely think there's a real chance that he could reach that. It's the perfect hot take because I would guess he gets, if he takes another step, around 90 points, 91, 92 points next year. So saying 100, that puts in perfect hot take
the talent that's around him. Jimmy Snuggerud's going to be in there. Dvorsky's going to be on that team. You're going to have Dylan Holloway again, who's probably going to be even better. Sorry, Edmonton. I
love it.
Yeah, I think things are lining up perfectly there for Robert Thomas and just for the St. Louis Blues in general.
Yeah, no, that's a good one. Before we move on, I'm just gonna go over back to mine because I kind of went over mine pretty quick there. But for Jack Hughes hitting 110 points in his last, let's go 4 seasons, 49 games, 56 points. That was only his 3rd season in the NHL, so already over a point per game. But he's getting there. But 49 games, he was injured. 3 years ago, he had 99 points. He almost hit 100 in 78 games. So he was healthy that year. 43 goals, by the way, but didn't quite get to 100. And then the past 2 years, in each of them, he has had 27 goals in both of them. 47 points in one of them, or 47 assists in one of them, 43 in the next, for 74 and 70 points, 62 games in each of them. So he missed 20 games in both of those. Over a point per game in both of those still, but obviously doing that with whenever he's coming back, at least in 23-24 when he came back, not scoring at the same pace. this past season, the injury was the final 20 games. He didn't come back. So yeah, I I think if he can come into camp healthy, so he's not got a lingering injury, and if he can stay away from getting injured throughout the year, I think 110 points is well within his wheelhouse. He's one of those guys that I wouldn't be shocked if in the next 5 years he ended up winning like a Hart Trophy. Like he's that good.
Yeah, I love it.
Only
I love
24
it. I
years
think it
old.
makes perfect sense. I almost did go with Jack Hughes actually, but I was like, I'm gonna go with Robert Thomas. 'Cause I was kind of flip flop between the two. And I was like, I mean, I know Jack Hughes can do it, but I'm like Robert Thomas. That's a little bit more, I guess,
No,
just
that's a
bold,
great
I
one.
guess. But did you had one more? You said, right? Because you had 7.
Yes, I do.
All right, I
Uh,
don't have 7. I wasn't able to come up with one, so we're gonna call this the final hot take, and I will throw the microphone to you to give us the final hot take here.
all right. And with that, I have my final hot take being the Columbus Blue Jackets make the playoffs. I think this team is
Oh,
they are getting ready to get back in the hunt. I think, you know, obviously it was split 5-3 last year in the playoffs. The Atlantic had 5 teams, the Metro only had 3. Um, you know, as far as the East goes, I think you can pencil in Florida, Tampa for sure. I think Carolina for sure. Is that it? I think those are the only ones I can
I think
safely say are making it. I
Toronto's
think
still
I
a
think
guarantee.
I think
They're still
Toronto
a lock.
still probably does, but they are not in lock territory for me, you know? I don't think Washington, I don't think New Jersey are in lock territory. I think they still make it, but I don't think they're locks like they've been in the past, and I think it's kind of wide open in the East. Even though there's so many strong teams, like you still have to overcome the likes of Montreal, Ottawa, Toronto. Even Detroit's trying to get in there, and then you know
Yeah.
the Islanders are taking a bit of a step back to take a step forward later. Don't know what the Rangers are doing. Philly's taking a step forward. Washington wants to stay up there. Obviously Carolina,
Pittsburgh's the only one on
but
the way down.
yeah, but I
Everyone else is on the way up.
something about this
I don't
Columbus
hate
team,
it. I
man.
don't hate it.
I think they're
They
poised
were
for it.
right in there last year.
Yeah, and I think they're just gonna win those couple more games that they need to, and I think I don't know if it's a wild card spot, but I think there's a much better chance that we get a 4-4 split between the Atlantic and the Metro, and I think Columbus is getting in there.
I I I love that. I'd love to see Columbus back in the playoffs. Like if we got them and Buffalo, oh,
Yeah,
that would be
getting
a nice treat.
getting actually, games played out of your captain in Boone Jenner. He was injured for so much
Yeah.
last year. Guys like Voronkov, Marchenko, Monahan had a great breakout year again last year. Like he kind of returned to form that we know he could
Mm-hmm.
be. Chinnikov looks great. Kent Johnson, he's only 22 and he's really starting to come into his own. And
You're
I
getting
mean,
a
Adam
full year out of
Fantilli,
Denton Mateychuk on the blue line.
yeah.
Jet
Zach,
Greaves, your boy.
Jet Greaves looked incredible last year in the games we saw him in. He had like a 937 in the 12 games he had or something like that. Zach Werenski, Norris finalist. Like
I will say though,
they're
Columbus only makes the playoffs if Jet Greaves is the starter.
I mean,
That's the only way I can get on board
Merzlikins was
with
the
it.
starter last year, right?
Yeah,
Well,
and
they
didn't make
weren't
the
far
playoffs,
off.
but they didn't make it.
No, but they weren't far off. So I think Greaves does end up being the starter. I think they
He's
probably
got
run a
to.
tandem with kind of like a lean towards Greaves, but I think it's enough. And you know what? Maybe Merzlikins playing less games. Maybe that makes it easier for him.
Maybe.
Some guys are not meant to be the
Possible.
Martin Brodeurs where they play all the damn games.
Yeah.
But
Speaking of Martin Brodeurs, that is a little bit of a preview for, well, I don't know if we're going to have Brodeur, but a little preview for our Friday episode where we will be coming up with our own Mount Rushmore of NHL players. And we will put together a list. We will present them and debate them and discuss them. So that is something to look forward to on Friday. I think we had a lot of good hot takes, a lot of bold ones. I think that's safe to say.
I don't
I'm
think we
excited to come
really
back to
had
them next year and
I don't think either of us said any that I was like, yeah, no shit. Like, I don't think anything that we said was very
Yeah.
obvious and not a hot take.
Yeah,
So, at the very
I would
least,
agree.
we kind of avoided that. But
And that's what we do here. That's what it's all about.
like, I'm looking
That's
at
what
my
it's all
list
about
and
out
like,
here.
at the same time, they're supposed to be because they're hot takes. But I wouldn't be shocked if I was wrong on every single one of these either. So,
Yeah, right. Like if these are all wrong, I'd be like, yeah, okay, fair. Like that's
but that's hot take. We should feel bad if we get all of our predictions wrong. But as far as hot takes go, this is what they're here for.
yeah, exactly right. But to wrap this episode up, we are moving on to our final segment. Braden, it is a game that I don't think you're the biggest fan of because it hasn't quite gone your way, but we are back today to give it another run, and that is Connections. This one is
Connection.
Team Edition. For those who are unfamiliar with this game, I have 5 teams here. I will list them off, all 5 of them, and then it's up to Braden, along with you at home, to figure out which team doesn't belong with the other 4 and why they do not belong, and what meaning figuring out what the connection is between the other 4 teams. Braden, it'll be a big day for you. You had a nice little shot in the dark home run grand slam, coast to coast, to cap off last episode in Guess Who. So let's see if you can recreate the magic here again. In Connections, are you ready for your 5 teams?
Ooh, I am ready for my 5 teams.
Your 5 teams today are the New York Islanders, the Colorado Avalanche, the Dallas
Islanders,
Stars,
Avalanche, the Stars,
the New Jersey Devils, and the
Devils.
Toronto Maple Leafs. Those are your 5 teams.
Okay.
Talk me through your thought process here.
I very quickly have some thoughts. I'm trying to think when he went. So, immediately I'm thinking Leafs, Devils, Stars, Avs, they all made the playoffs last year. So the Islanders are an odd man out in not making the playoffs. But I think that's a little obvious. I don't think that's the case. I'm thinking the Islanders have Matthew Schaefer. The Maple Leafs have Austin Matthews. The Devils have Jack Hughes. The Avalanche have Nathan McKinnon, all first overall players. And the Stars have no first overall players, but they do have a second overall in Tyler Seguin, not picked by them. So I'm thinking I think there's a pretty good chance that it's that. But I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I'm missing here. I don't see any.
And remember, in Connections, there is always one free hint as well.
This is true. I'm trying to think, award winners, obviously, Nathan McKinnon has won a Hart Trophy for the Avalanche, a Hart Trophy in Toronto for Austin Matthews. I don't think the Devils, Stars, or Islanders, at least in recent memory, have one.
The Stars don't, but they do have an Art Ross.
They do have an Art Ross and Jamie Benn,
which is kind of fucking cool.
He took it from he took it from on the Maple Leafs, now on the Maple Leafs, back then on the Islanders, from John Tavares.
Yeah.
Huge 4-point game to end the season. I feel like people love throwing that stat out there to like kind of tear down Jamie Benn, like being like, yeah, if he didn't have a 4-point game, he wouldn't have won the award though. As if like, he went out there and farmed a 4-point night in a cheap way to win it or something. Like, why didn't Tavares put up 4 in his final game and secure the award,
It's like I've never seen people shit talk a player for scoring 4 points in a game more.
They use it against him. It's weird.
Yeah, it's so bizarre. I've never understood it.
Yeah, if Sam Gagne didn't have 8 points in one game, he wouldn't have had 8 points in one game. Well, yeah, no
Yeah.
shit.
Right.
Thanks, man. Oh,
Uh, crazy
I
times, crazy times.
I'm not making any other real strong connections. I mean, I guess Toronto Maple Leafs, they're the only Canadian team on the list. Stars, Devils, Avalanche, Islanders, all American teams. So there's that, but that's about as obvious as the Islanders not making the playoffs for last year. So I don't think either of those are the answer. I th- I'm feeling like it's that first overall pick because they even have a second overall on the Stars that almost kind of throws you off. So um I want to make sure. I want to do everything I can to try and get this right because this has by far been my worst game while we're doing the podcast. I think I've got really close once or twice, but I've never won on this game and got it before. So I'm definitely going to take my hint.
Well, it's a good thing you did because the hint is it does not involve any players.
Any players
This
at
is a
all.
team. We're just
It's
looking
a
at the teams.
it's a full-on team thing. Okay, so
Yeah.
it's not certain amount of guys winning awards. It's not about draft picks. Okay.
Yeah, no individual players. And I was hoping you're gonna take the hint because that
Yes. I'll
that
I'll
gets you
try and go
off
for the
off the
style
track
points
you're
and
on.
not take it once I've won a couple of them, or at least one. Phew.
I think this one's doable. I think it's doable. Now that you're on the track of not thinking about players,
Yeah, it's about the team.
about the team.
The Avalanche have won a Stanley Cup recently. The Stars have made it to a Stanley Cup final recently, and many conference finals. The Islanders had back-to-back conference finals berths. So maybe the Avalanche also had back-to-back in 2 years there. Maybe the year before they won the cup and then the year they won the cup. The question is, did the well, we very notedly the Leafs haven't. But I think
Yep, you would be
but it's
correct.
been a good while since I don't know when the last time the Devils would have gotten to like consecutive conference finals or something is. Like that seems like it's been a while. I don't think they did in around that 2015 time, but they might have. It's one of those things where I don't know how far back we'll go with it either sometimes. Like if it is a recent stat, it might also be just last season stats. But I don't
Might
think
not be stats at all.
it might not be stats at all.
Might not be stats at all. Never know.
It might
Never
be
know with
something
this one.
as goofy as like, Avalanche is one of the team names around the league that doesn't end with an S, Islanders, Stars, Devils, Maple Leafs. So it could be the Avalanche doesn't end with an S, but I don't know. It's weird when you can find multiple ones that are true, but you don't know if that's
Mhm.
gonna be
Yeah.
where they're going with it. Do any of them? No, I don't think you'd do that. I was thinking if like every team like shared like a coach at one point or something. Like if Sheldon Keefe had coached for you know four of them or some shit. I was like, no, I haven't won one of these. There's no way he's gonna pull that shit out.
Yeah,
That'd be
no.
brutal. Be crazy him finding four jobs in a row.
Yeah, not possible. Not possible.
Ooh, I want to get this one, but is it is it just that the Islanders didn't make the playoffs, or is it the Avalanche not having an S at the end? Like,
Hmm.
because I think often when you've done teams before, it's usually within the last year. if it has anything to do with stats, I feel like you've often done it. So it's like stats within the last year, because I
Mhm.
know about the last 10 years of stuff, but after that it gets pretty fuzzy for where teams were in the standings,
Yeah.
or you know, I can remember who won the cup a lot of years, but not who got far in the
Yeah. And I will tell you, I wouldn't, maybe down the road if you start getting good at this game, but yeah, you don't have to. Yeah, it's not something that's like that deep.
right.
You gotta use every ounce of brain power to think of past years.
Is it cheating to ask, have I already said the answer? I just don't know which one it is.
You haven't.
That makes me feel a lot better,
Yeah, yeah.
because I've
I
had
to be honest, I
I've
haven't even
had
really sniffed the area.
oh, that's unfortunate, but
Yeah.
there's got to be something. There's got to be something I'm missing. There's got to be something I'm missing here. You said it doesn't have anything to do with players. The
The
team.
Toronto Maple Leafs, the New York Islanders, Colorado Avalanche, New Jersey Devils, and Dallas Stars. You just gotta lock your brain in, and it'll come to you.
The
I'll
Leafs.
give you one more minute
Yeah, yeah. No, that's good.
to lock
There
in
should
here.
be a time limit on these. Oh,
Is anyone at home? If you've already got it by now, props to you. Let us know in the socials.
yeah.
You know where
Shout
they
out
all are. All the links down below. Go to them. There's our plug. Don't have to do it now.
the Devils. Well. You said it's not stuff from like longer ago, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's not.
Okay. Okay. I was thinking teams that have like won like consecutive cups. I know the Islanders have. I have no idea. The Avs and the Devils won a lot around 2000, but I don't know if they won back to back.
15 seconds here.
15 seconds. The Leafs traded a big winger. The Islanders, they traded a big winger. The Avs traded Rantanen. The Islanders traded Noah Dobson.
I need
You
a
said it's
final
not player.
answer.
You said it's not player related. The Leafs are the only Canadian team. Ah,
Yeah, I was hoping you were eventually gonna get on the right track with it. Um, yeah, it had absolutely nothing to do with players or anything. Um,
I wasn't sure
the
if it was like team stats, like if one had a good power play and the others were bad or something. Like,
mhm.
yeah, I couldn't think of anything else.
The team that did not belong in the group was the New Jersey Devils, and that is because all of the other four teams are all geography nature inspired. Maple Leafs, Islanders, Stars, Avalanche. Whereas
Oh,
the
okay.
Devils were just the
Well,
Devils.
they're geographic. They're from hell.
No. When you were kind of going through it, I was almost when you're going through like
You
Avalanche of like, I was like, well, I could swap them out and put like Lightning in, but then I was like, well, I guess that actually doesn't help because they don't end with an S. And I couldn't think of another
Yeah.
team off the top of my head that would kind of fit
I was about to say
if I did it
wild.
with an
I'm just
S.
doing all the teams that don't have Ness. No,
Yet
that's fair.
again,
And you know what?
connections
You know what? And you
haunt
even
you.
tried. I could even hear it. You tried to help me partway through too, because you went through all the names, and especially the first one, I could hear you were like enunciating the names a little more. And
Yeah.
I like knew it had something to do with that for a second, and I lost it for a little bit. I was like, "Is it like the syllables in the name?" And I was like, "No, that's stupid. Like he wouldn't do that shit."
Yeah, it was really tough to come up with one today. So I was like, I spent probably good like 20 minutes. And I was like, fuck it, all right, let's throw a Hail Mary. Let's see if Chat GPT can give me some. I asked him and it gave me fucking Chicago, Boston, Detroit, Rangers, and uh Utah Mammoth.
And which one's new and which is a original 6 team.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, oh, okay, well,
Yeah.
this shit ain't gonna help me. Um,
You know what? I probably wouldn't have got that one either because I would have been like, "That's just so insanely obvious." Like,
actually, you know what? That is true. Actually,
I would have been
it
like,
is a
"That's
very
so
obvious one.
crazy obvious. There's no way it's something that that easy." That would have
You know what?
felt like
That
a
is true.
slap in the
Actually,
face. The fact that it's
but
not even like all those teams and then Ottawa or something. The fact that it's the newest team.
yeah, right. But that will do it for this episode. We hope you all enjoyed. Hope you enjoyed our hot takes. If you want to let us know your hot takes, or if you agree or disagree with ours or what you think, you can let us know at the end of our socials. Again, you know where they are. I already said it. Braden, it is that time. We've got a lot of hot takes here, but now I'm going to ask you for your final thoughts.
Final thoughts? I don't think they're making the playoffs, but I think the Philadelphia Flyers are going to be much better than people think next season. I think
I
they
like
got a
that.
bet. I think Vladar's going to be a good goalie for him. I think Zegras, I think Drysdale are going to have great years. I think Michkov's going to take a step. I think Owen Tippett's going to get his goals back up. I think
I like
a
that.
lot of people are going to look at them on the schedule, say, "Oh, good, our team's got a damn near penciled in win," and they might get a little shit rocked every now and then. All of a sudden,
Mhm.
what happened? We just lost 5-0 to the freaking Flyers.
And it's
Ah,
going to be a
probably,
whole new
yeah,
identity
maybe not a
with Rick
shutout. five
Tocchet.
two.
Whole new identity there now with Tocchet at the helm. So I'm curious to see
Yep,
how that looks too for him.
we'll
Uh,
have to see.
that is it for this episode. One final time. Hope you all enjoyed. And as always, we will see all of you lovely people at Mount Rushmore on the ice later this week.